chance to win $1 million.
Come on, lottery!
Now quiet, they're about to announce the lottery numbers.
17.
Don't!
32.
Don't!
5.
Every year, tens of millions of Americans flock to buy lottery tickets in hopes of winning it big. You can get them from the nice person behind the counter at your gas station or one of those machines in a corner of the grocery store, and from $1 to $100. You can imagine a life free from financial stress, filled with luxury and endless possibilities. When people buy more and more tickets, all the money goes into this pile, a big pot called a jackpot. And as more and more people buy tickets hoping to hit the jackpot, it grows bigger and bigger and can even grow to over $1 billion.
$660 million.
Past $1 billion.
$1.22 billion.
And at the end of it all, after all the people buying their tickets, all the news coverage, and all the advertisements, one person wins. It sounds amazing, right? But the harsh truth is that the lottery is a big scam. Not in the sense that it's illegal or just outright fraudulent, but in how it exploits human psychology, hopes, and financial disparity for profit. Because at the end of it all, everyone else is left a little bit more sad and a bit poor. The lottery is deeply ingrained in the American culture, and for a lot of people, it's a beacon of hope and a pathway to more wealth than you could possibly ever imagine. But first, we need to go back in time to truly understand where we are today. Lotteries have existed for centuries, with examples dating back even to ancient civilization. But in the United States, the lottery has transformed and evolved. From the colonial period, where it was used to fund public projects like roads and schools, and lotteries became a popular way to create revenue without adding direct taxes. And by the mid-20th century, state governments began to adopt lotteries as a way to supplement declining tax revenues. And today, the lottery is very different from what it was before. Today, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry driven by aggressive marketing campaigns and sophisticated psychological tactics, all designed to maximize participation and profit. And a lot of states will say they use lotteries to benefit education and public services, but if we dive deeper into it, the reality is a lot more complicated and troubling. But first, let's get into the numbers. The odds of winning the Powerball jackpot, one of the most popular lotteries in the US, are approximately 1 in 292.2 million. That's a bit hard to imagine, so let's put that into perspective. You are more likely to be struck by lightning with a 1 in 15,300 chance, or be attacked by a shark, which is 1 in 3.7 million. And yet, despite all these insane odds, millions of tickets are sold each and every week. Why? Because the lottery preys on our inability to understand the improbability of winning. Flashy billboards and advertisements show $500 million jackpots and heartwarming stories of previous winners and create this beautiful illusion that winning is not only possible, but life-changing. And the lottery isn't just a bad bet, it's a cleverly designed profit machine. For every dollar spent on lottery tickets, a small fraction goes towards the prize pool. And in a lot of states, about 50 to 60% of the ticket sales fund the prizes. And the rest is split amongst administrative, retailer commissions, and most importantly in the big kicker, state revenue. Lotteries are usually marketed as benefiting public services like education or infrastructure. And while some money does go to these, it's usually a very small drop in the bucket when compared to the total state budget. Because in a lot of cases, lottery revenue simply replaces funding instead of actually adding to it. That means instead of being a bonus for public programs, it becomes a hidden tax. And the lottery also acts and works as what we call a regressive tax. Basically, it disproportionately affects lower income individuals. Unlike income taxes, where the more money you make, the more tax you typically pay. However, with lottery tickets, they're purchased voluntarily, and the heavy marketing and psychological tricks used to sell these tickets make it more appealing for those with more financial desperation. And this voluntary tax takes out billions from the people who can least afford it, and it funnels money from the poor to the state and private hands. And so for good reason, the lottery is known very much as a tax on the poor. While a lot of lotteries are government run and some are privately owned, and the companies behind them profit handsomely by advertising, selling tickets, and just managing the lotteries. It's a win-win for the state and the companies behind them, but a lose-lose for the 99.99% of those who dream for a better life. And data shows that roughly 50% of Americans buy a lottery ticket at least once a year. And states took in a record $97.8 billion in lottery sales, and this equates to about $392 spent on lottery tickets per person. And even though the reality is that there are a very small minority of people who are consistent players. And for many, it's very easy to just dismiss a $2 lottery ticket as harmless fun. But for another group, the cost of playing adds up very, very quickly. A $10 weekly lottery habit turns into a $520 habit a year. And the bigger problem is that most people who play the lottery frequently are not wealthy. Studies show that lower income individuals are the most frequent players in the lottery and spend a disproportionate amount of their income on tickets. And this creates a regressive system where those who can afford it the least are funding jackpots for a very lucky few. And there's nothing wrong with putting a few dollars into a pot with your coworkers to buy scratchers once every so often. But when it consumes you and you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars of your income on the lottery in hopes of hitting the jackpot, there's a big problem. And this is in big part thanks to psychology. And before we go on, if you're enjoying this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously. Thank you very much for watching. For many, buying a ticket represents hope. It's a fleeting sense of optimism that their lives could change with a few lucky numbers. But the hope can quickly turn into disillusionment as they lose. It's a mixture of human emotion and cognitive bias. The first is what we know as the illusion of control. It's where a lot of people believe they can increase their odds by winning by choosing birthdays or lucky numbers, even though the lottery is completely random. And there's also this factor of hope and optimism. Lotteries thrive on the promise of a better future. And for a lot of people, they're not just buying tickets and winning money, they're also buying hope. And the anticipation of what life can be like as a millionaire provides some escape from reality where everything is just so expensive. And there's also something what we call the near miss effect. It's when someone's numbers are close to the winning combination, which can encourage them to play again, and it reinforces this gambling habit and psychology even when their odds haven't even really improved. And lastly is what we call the sunk cost fallacy. If someone is playing frequently, they might feel like they're due for a win because they've already spent so much money. And this belief keeps them spending more even if the odds haven't changed at all. So where does all the money go? Again, a common defense of the lottery is that proceeds go to good causes, like education or infrastructure. And this is partially true, but the reality is that in a lot of states, only a fraction of lottery revenue goes to these programs. About 60% of the lottery is paid out in prizes, 5% towards administrative costs, and the remaining 30 to 35 goes to public programs. Even when the money does go to education, it actually only replaces funding rather than adding to it. That means schools don't really get a big boost in funding at all, and the rest of those who didn't win are a bit poorer than before. And even if you do win, even if you defy all odds and do win, the government takes a huge cut. Lottery winnings are subject to federal income tax, and many states impose their own taxes. For a $1 million jackpot, you might only take home about $600,000 after taxes. And for larger prizes, Uncle Sam takes an even larger portion. And it's not uncommon for winners to end up bankrupt after a few years. A study found that 70% of lottery winners go broke within 5 years. This sudden influx of money can lead to reckless spending, poor financial decisions, and a lot of people coming out of the woodwork just trying to be your friend. So how do we escape the lottery trap? Well, first is to understand the odds. Remember that the lottery isn't a viable financial plan. The chances of winning are so low that you're essentially throwing away your money, and channel that hope into real financial success. If you're probably like everyone else, you're playing the lottery because you probably want to either retire early, own a home, or travel, or all of the above. So create realistic goals that you can achieve instead of wishing for a multi-million-dollar mansion that you can only afford if you win the lottery. And if you're playing the lottery just for fun, there are other more worthwhile forms of inexpensive entertainment. A $10 movie night or dinner with friends has a guaranteed return on investment in the form of happiness. And if the lottery isn't the answer, then what is? Instead of spending money on lottery tickets, do consider other alternatives. If you spend $10 a week on lottery tickets, redirect that money into a high-yield savings account. And over time, you can build an emergency fund or help save for a vacation or a down payment on a house. And sure, you likely won't have hundreds of millions of dollars, but it'll be a more surefire way to add to your account. And that $10 a week is also $5,200 over 10 years. And if you factor in inflation and missed investment opportunities, then the cost balloons even higher. Instead of lottery tickets, imagine if that money was invested. At an annual return of 7%, $10 a week could grow to $7,000 in 10 years and $35,000 in 30 years. That's the power of compound interest, something that the lottery cannot and will never do. So instead, use lottery money to take online courses, buy books, and learn new skills to increase your earning potential. And the return on investment from education and new skills will outweigh the odds of winning the lottery. The lottery is often described as a tax on the poor, and while it's harsh, it's also true, and really highlights the underlying issue of exploitation by the state and private companies. And as much as it offers the dream of instant riches, the odds are never in your favor. So instead of pinning your hopes and dreams on a 1 in 292 million chance, focus on real wealth creation through saving, investing, and smart financial decisions. Wealth is built one step at a time. It's less glamorous and won't happen overnight, but it's far more achievable, and you're in control of your own life. And aside from all the lottery commercials and billboards grasping to gain your attention, so are advertisements wanting you to buy the latest gizmo, gadget, and product. So check out the next video on how consumerism manipulates you to spend mindlessly.